Alright, good morning everybody, it is Granarite, and here we are back with another episode of Let's Play Assassin's Creed 3. We are here in memory sequence number 3 now. Let's let these red coats walk by. And then let's hop into the memories still.
Hello, Charles. Any luck finding our mystery woman?
Word is she's been stirring up trouble just outside the city in a town called Lexington.
Well, then that's where we'll begin our search. I'll meet you there.
Alright, so we need to leave town from the looks of it. Try not to run over anybody. Hope everybody is doing well on this Tuesday morning. Oh, yeah, it's King's Chapel. Another spot? All right. King's Chapel. King James II ordered the building of this Anglican church in the 1680s because he was a king, and that perk of the job is doing whatever they want. However, since Boston was full of Puritans who had come to the New World precisely to get away from Anglicans, nobody was willing to sell the land to the budding parish. In the end, the governor ordered that the church be built on top of the old public burial ground, the logic being that the dead couldn't complain, they're notoriously compliant. And there the church stands today. After the Revolution, the church was known as the Stone Chapel for several years, King's not being particularly popular at the time, and calling a stone chapel was the best idea anyone could come up with at the time. I never understood these people's need for independence, by the way. We gave birth to them, they were happy to suckle our teats in their infancy. There were a few toddler wobbles, but as soon as they got to their teenage years, all they could bang on about was their independence, so they stormed out. But we know they'll be back eventually to borrow money or get us to wash their clothes. We'll forgive them because we are older and wiser. Sure, Sean. And that is right here, we're next to it. We're just going to keep riding. Where's my my chat? My chat is gone? Just a second. Yeah, it's there. Why is it not up here? Oh, there it is. Must have just minimized for some reason. The printer shop printing presses were originally brought to America to print religious texts, but at the time of the Revolutionary War, they were used for things like newspapers, pamphlets, and broadsheets. Think of it as the colonial internet, but at the same speed as dial-up. Unlike word of mouth, newspaper articles could spread news and events for colony to colony quickly without any loss of information. But that doesn't mean it was unbiased. Far from it. Presses were commonly used to print propaganda. Every newspaper had its slant. Thank goodness that doesn't happen nowadays. Anyways, part of what made the Boston Massacre such a turning point were reprints of Paul Revere's word cut. It showed organized British soldiers in full formation, firing point blank into an innocent crowd. A shocking image which enraged the people and fueled the hatred for the British. Completely made up, of course, but what does it matter? The public is there to be manipulated. Actually, I bet you could use these places to print some propaganda of your own. If the soldiers are getting too unfriendly, a little reminder that you're a hero the people might help. Alright, we are getting closer. Well, there's a fast travel point here. I could have looked at the map. Oh well, it's fine. Alright. Still riding to Lexington. There's a tree in the way. Alright. Unconvinced.
Have you found her?
She's made camp not too far from here.
Excellent. Well, the sooner we're done, the sooner we can get out of this cold.
That's right.
I am afraid I have some bad news, sir.
Oh?
Braddock is insisting I return to service under him. I've tried to beg off, to no avail.
No doubt he's still angry about losing Pitcairn. To say nothing of the shaming we gave him. Do as he asks. In the meantime, I'll work on having you released.
I'm sorry for the trouble.
Not your fault.
Alright, right now we're just following Lee.
We're too late.
Fire's only just been snuffed. Snow recently disturbed. She's close.
Bollocks.
Tracks are fresh.
Just a second here. Okay. Sorry about that.
Seems she took to higher ground. Out of the snow and into the trees.
So I think this is her tracks. Unless that's our horses. Looks like hers is here, actually.
Wait here. Oh, damn it. Wait! Come back! Do you return to Braddock, Charles, before he grows suspicious? I can handle things from here.
But, sir!
But nothing. Go! Stop running! I only wish to talk! I am not your enemy! Please just hear me out! Gods, woman! Only let me speak!
Alright. Got another wolf here. Limit health loss 50%. There we go. Should do it.
You try my patience, woman!
Are you touched in the head?
Me?
Good question.
Haytham. I come in peace.
Why are you speaking so slow?
Sorry.
What do you want?
Well, your name, for one.
I'm Gadzit Zio.
Pleased to meet you. God's day.
Just call me Zio.
Dio.
Zio.
Dio.
Now tell me why it is you're here. Where did you get this?
From an old friend.
I've only seen such markings in one other place.
Where?
Well, it is forbidden for me to speak of it.
I saved your people. Does this mean nothing to you? Look, I am not the enemy.
Close to here, there is a hill. Meet me there, and we'll see if you speak the truth.
Mm-hmm. Alright, so we get an anime database for Kanetsuyo. Born in 1731, she was a member of the... I always pronounce this wrong, the Kanakahaya nation, living on the frontier lands near Boston at the time of the French and Indian War. Assassin's records indicate she was the daughter of the clan mother from an early age and was being groomed for leadership herself. While many in the community chose to ignore the incursions by colonists into the area, the growing tensions between the French and British, Zio was convinced that they presented a very real danger. She began to argue with anyone who would listen that the village should take action rather than staying silent, which was contrary to the will of the clan chiefs at the time. She refused to follow the orders to remain neutral, deciding to fight back in her own way and recruiting help where she could get it, including from Haytham Kinway.
That town hosts soldiers who seek to drive my people from these lands. They're led by a man known as the Bulldog.
Edward Braddock.
You know him?
He is no friend of mine.
Every day, more of my people are lost to men like him.
Then I suggest we put a stop to it. Together.
What do you propose?
That we kill Edward Braddock. But first, we have to find him.
I don't try.
We get anime database for Concord here, so this is Regular's destination when they set out for Boston on the day of the battles of Lexington and Concord. Inside the town, the British found cannon, flour, salt, food, and musket balls. They broke the cannon and threw the rest into the local mill pond. A bad idea since the local residents retrieved most of it later undamaged. In their zeal, the Regulars also accidentally set fire to the local meeting house. It happens, and then joined the Bucket Brigade to help put it out. However, local militia saw the smoke and thought the Regulars had set fire to the whole town. The militia marched in, causing a battle with the Regulars at the North Bridge, just outside of town. It was a comedy of errors with very little comedy. The battle at the North Bridge, battle was immortalized in the Concord Hymn, a popular poem by Ralph Waldo Emerson. Emerson lived in Concord in the 1830s, which probably made him a bit biased. He refers to the fighting at the bridge as the shot heard round the world. A bit of an overstatement, since the first shots of the war had been fired at Lexington hours before. Maybe he'd been napping. You know what poets are like.
I know.
Yet you remain.
Alright, we got some new emails, but we're not going to leave the Animus at this time to read them. Trading post. What do we got here? Trading posts were essentially general stores set up in the American frontier. The clientele, many explorers and members of the local indigenous nations, would barter for various goods such as guns, axes, and pots and pans. Payment was mostly in the form of furs, which were shipped back to Europe. The fur trade at the time was extremely lucrative, one of the reasons that explorers were continually moving to the frontier. They were hoping to find more and better sources of pelts. There was a reason Davy Crockett only ever seemed to have one hat. Many of the trading posts were privately owned, but they were used to push political agendas as well. For example, after the Revolutionary War ended, the British government used their trading posts to encourage the indigenous peoples not to sign treaties with the United States. The United States government took over the colonial fur trade in the colonies in 1796, establishing something called the factory system. The idea was to regulate prices in order to stop exploitation of the indigenous peoples by private traders, and unfortunately, under the new system, indigenous leaders were forced to trade large amounts of land to get access to the trading post. Private exploitation had become government exploitation. Lucky that's the only time in history that's ever happened. Since that obviously wasn't any better, the factory system was abolished in 1822.
But I might prove you wrong.
The Right Tavern.
Wait here. A Mohawkman is likely to raise suspicions, if not muskets.
This is hardly the first time I've been amongst your people. I can handle myself.
I hope so.
Can't stand being quartered there. The endless crashing of the waves, The sting of the salt in my eyes. And the goddamn gulls shrieking and shitting everywhere.
You're sure that's where we're going?
Aye. The Bulldog's putting together another expedition.
That's what they're calling them now. Expeditions.
Aye. Smart too. Slap a fancy name on something and all evil is excused.
I hear tell the French are readying to move on our positions. Wonder what Braddock intends to do about it.
He's already left for the advanced camp. I'll wager our little holiday here is just about ended. We'll be marching south before week's end.
Oi! Where you going, Cully?
Me?
No, the other cock Robin.
Well, I was leaving.
Oh? And now?
Well, now... I'm going to feed you your teeth.
And you were worried I was going to be the problem?
Alright, so apart from limiting health loss, we need to throw into some breakable objects during the fight. So we have a few more tables we still need to get used. There we go. Oh, we got knocked over. That's not very nice. Get up.
You're hurt.
Oh, it's nothing.
They didn't even touch me.
Here. This should stop the bleeding.
That wasn't necessary. But thank you.
We should move on. Meet me at Braddock's camp when you're ready.
Alright, get that one done. Alright, let's check out these emails really quick, since it's going to keep pinging up that I got new emails here. We already did this one, so... Email fix, just a heads up, reply to email chains will no longer return in multiple instances of the word RE. Should cut down on the subject link considerably. Sean, RE, mail fix. Are you sure about that? See above. Rebecca replied, haha, very funny, Sean. And then William replied, focus, please. That was the extent of those emails. Seems like emails I get at work. Alright, how far away is this? Just run really quick, can we? There's a tree up ahead that's not completely loaded in. There it goes. swim across the river in the winter. Great idea. Dog and the cat fighting. Typical. Alright, we got another river here. Sploosh. Alright, we're getting closer. I see her up ahead. Execution is everything.
Use the snowstorm to mask your approach. Having second thoughts?
Hardly. But I'll have to approach this carefully.
Go on then. I'll keep watch from here.
Alright, so we have the Battle of Fort Necessity, July 3rd and 4th of 1754. This is one of the opening battles of the French and Indian War, and it's important that opening battles are quite exciting. Otherwise, everyone just sort of loses interest. In 1754, George Washington was sent to the head of the Ohio River Valley with a group of Virginia militia. The land there was contested territory between the British colonies and the French. Washington's mission was to retake Fort Duquesne and drive the French forces out of the area. Washington and his troops attacked the French patrol at Jumonville Glen in what would be the first acts of violence in the war. Washington expected a return attack, so he had his troops build a palisade wall around their supplies, a fort of necessity, hence the name. But they might as well have called it a fort of inadequacy because supplies ran low, and the militia and the British regular reinforcements were quickly overwhelmed. On July 4th, Washington surrendered, was allowed to retreat, and someone else was put in charge of naming forts. It was Washington's only military surrender, though he had plenty of strategic retreats. PR spin was alive, and, well, even then. We got grenadiers here. Grenadiers were originally the soldier in charge of throwing grenades, hence the name. They were chosen for being tall, muscular, and fearless. Not only did they need the strength to throw grenades far enough to actually injure the enemy, they had to be brave or stupid enough to stay in the front lines of battle to do it. Grenadiers were also called upon to be fast, effective assault troops, helping with things like storming breaches during sieges. You know, all the standard easy jobs that are likely to get you killed. By the mid-18th century, grenades had fallen out of favor, but grenadiers were still regarded as elite regiments, called on to guard the right flank of their battalions, and still do all the other dangerous work they had gotten a reputation for. An interesting note on the hats, they were made high and narrow so that they would not get in the way while throwing grenades, which is a good feature to have. Eventually, the mitre hat became part of the standard dress uniform in numerous armies. It's also possible grenadiers were just grenadiers really just took the idea of looking like the Pope. History's mute on that point.
I can hide in that cart.
If you can get to it.
What's in the wagon? I need a full inventory.
As you wish. Let's see. 2 barrels of salt, 12 pounds pork, 10 pounds beef, 7 dozen eggs, 16 wheels of cheese. None of it French, don't worry. 5 bottles of whiskey, a couple dozen new uniforms, boots, leather for patching, blankets, a cart feed for the horses. What else? That's it? That's all there is?
You know, standard office supplies.
Those cannons are like to cause trouble. Perhaps I could sabotage them.
John Fraser. What's this? John Fraser, also spelled Fraser or Fraser, was a Scottish-born trainer living in the area of Fort Duquesne during the French and Indian War, and a participant in the Braddock expedition. Fraser left Scotland sometime after 1745, possibly because of political troubles. The Frasers had supported the Stuarts, who were on the losing end of the rebellion. He set up a trade on the upper Allegheny River, but was quickly run out of his cabin by the French. He moved further downriver near modern-day Pittsburgh, built a new cabin to continue to trade. Fraser was one of the settlers building a fort on the site of Fort Duquesne near his own land when the French took over again. Fraser supplied Washington's attempt to reclaim the fort in 1754, which was followed by the defeat of Fort Necessity, and served as a cheat scout during the Braddock expedition. After Braddock failed, Fraser gave up on the area, depriving the French of a third opportunity to chase him off his land, and I suppose that's a small victory. He moved to the Tuscarora Valley before finally settling at Fort Bedford. So we need to sabotage some cannons. We need to not kill any guards. We need to eavesdrop on some officers. I need to not be seen. And I need to not kill anybody. Okay, we're just gonna restart our checkpoint since we already were kind of seen.
Those cannons are like to cause trouble. Perhaps I could sabotage them.
General Braddock refused the offer. There will be no truce.
Damn it! Why, George? What reason did he give?
He said a diplomatic solution was no solution at all. That allowing the French to retreat would only delay an inevitable conflict. One in which they'd now have the upper hand.
There's merit to those words, as much as I hate to admit it. Still, can't he see this is unwise?
It doesn't fit well with me. We're far from home with our forces divided. Worse, I fear Braddock's bloodlust makes them careless. It puts the men at risk. I'd rather not be delivering grim news to mothers and widows because the bulldog wanted to prove a point.
Where is the general now?
Rallying the troops.
And then it's on to Fort Duquesne, I assume?
Eventually. The march north will surely take time. There's a copy of the plans in the command tent should you wish to review them.
At least this will be ended soon.
I tried, John.
I know, my friend. I know.
That map will surely be of use.
Alright, so we need to
I need
steal
to
a
find
tactical map there. So we're just going to knock this guy out. We're not going to kill him. That's important, because we can't kill anybody. And we need to escape the fort, but we still need to sabotage some cannons. One of them being there. They are currently facing the opposite way, which is good. Okay, we have a guy there. Alright, and we need to get out without killing any guards. See, we didn't use any weapons.
What news?
Braddock has left to rally his troops. They're marching on Fort Duquesne. It'll be a while yet till they're ready, which gives us time to form a plan.
No need. We will ambush him here near the river. Go and gather your allies. I will do the same. I will send word when it is time to strike.
All right. Going like all the way back. Is there a fast travel? Doesn't look like it. I don't think it really matters where we cross. That way it would look like it would have been a little faster if I would have went a little further. But we didn't. Oh, just a second. Up the hill and down the hill. So I remember the first time I played that this next mission had the first like optional objective that I really like loathed. Five months later. It's a bit of a wait.
The cold, cold ground. Here, here.
Hard at work, I see.
How did you...
It is time. We've set up camp to the north. Meet me there.
Gentlemen, let us away.
First it was too cold. Now it's too gut.
Alright, so we got the Braddock expedition here. July 9th of 1755, this battle was part of the French and Indian War. In it, Edward Braddock's force of 1,500 British regulars and a militia was decimated by a group of French-led troops half its size. This is not something we talk about much in Britain. Braddock had been sent to capture Fort, what they say, Duquesne.
Moment. No doubt, many wonder why it is we've pushed so far west. These are wild lands as yet untamed and unsettled. But it shall not always be so. In time, our holdings will no longer suffice. And that day is closer than you think. we must ensure our people have ample room to grow and further prosper. Which means we need more land. The French understand this and endeavor to prevent such growth. They skirt around our territory, erecting forts and forging alliances, awaiting the day they might strangle us with the noose they've built. This must not come to pass. We must sever the cord and send them back. This is why we ride, to offer them one last chance. The French will leave, or they will die.
Now's the time to strike.
Wait. To scatter the expedition is not enough. We must ensure that Braddock falls, else he's sure to try again. I'll disguise myself as one of his own and make my way to his side. Your ambush will provide the perfect cover for me to deliver the killing blow.
Alright, so we need to kill militia without triggering open conflict. So we have the Abenaki. The Abenaki nation originated in now what's New England and the southern Canadian Maritimes. Those suggested they're only one nation. It may be a bit of a misnomer, since Abenaki can refer to numerous groups from the same approximate geographic region and language family. Algonquin, since you asked. Although the various Abenaki would join together during the crisis events, like when they're under attack from other nations, for the most part they had no central authority. That's probably partly what caused the encroachment of British colonists on their land. The British like to have formal governments and they can negotiate treaties with. It's just so much more civilized, and sometimes there are canapes. So from the colonist perspective, no central government meant that the Abenaki had no claim on the land. Of course, they could have found out otherwise, but that would have taken work and been complicated. And perhaps more importantly, the Abenaki might have said no. While the Abenaki tried to remain neutral during the French and Indian War, they were quite literally caught between warring British and French colonies, so some conflict was inevitable. For the most part, they sided with the French, who were less responsible for driving them out of their homeland. The lesser of two evils, I suppose you could say, though that's a sentence I never thought I'd say about the French, coming from someone of British ancestry. Also called the Lenape, or the Delaware. Before European colonization, the Lenape lived mostly among the banks of the Delaware River in what's modern-day New Jersey and Pennsylvania. The Lenape were one of the first nations to come in contact with the Europeans, most significantly with William Penn, who founded Pennsylvania, which was a stroke of luck given his name. While the Lenape relationship with Penn was mostly peaceful, when Penn died, his sons forced most of the Lenape off their land in a deal known as the Walking Purchase. During the French and Indian War, the Lenape sided primarily with the French, though some individual groups would later leave to join the British. In 1778, they were the first to sign a land treaty with the Continental Congress, agreeing to provide scouts in the army in exchange for supplies. Now, I imagine they simply liked fine cheeses and onions. The newly formed United States showed its gratitude by eventually moving the Lenape into isolated communities in Ohio and southern Canada. How wonderfully thoughtful. And finally, we have the Shawnee. At the time of the French and Indian War, the people of the Shawnee Nation mostly lived in and around the Ohio Valley, the territory surrounding Fort Duquesne. Traditionally, their hunting grounds had extended into Pennsylvania and Virginia, but they were being slowly moved from their lands by the advancing line of British colonization. Hoping to stop, or at least slow settlement, some of the Shawnee in the war siding with their traditional trading partners, that is, the French. By 1758, some Shawnee negotiated peace with the British in the Treaty of Easton. However, the treaty wasn't respected, and if you know anything about colonial history, you're probably sadly unsurprised by that, leading to another war, Pontiac's Rebellion, in 1763. By the time of the American Revolution started, many of the Shawnee opted to remain neutral, although some sided with the British, again hoping to push back the colonists. Unfortunately, the result was the same for many other indigenous peoples. The Shawnee were forced to leave their lands, with the majority eventually settling in Oklahoma. Good Lord, settling in Oklahoma, as if their story couldn't get any worse.
We await your signal.
There, in front of us.
Okay, I need to make sure I don't bump into anybody. Well, I guess they saw me. Let's reload that last checkpoint.
We await your signal.
They see me? Oh, there's somebody in there. Why is there someone in there? Because they pushed me out.
We await your signal.
There, in front of us.
So it looked like there was someone in this brush. Oh, they see me. Still.
Kill them!
This is a pain in the bottom.
We await your signal.
There, in front of us.
I wonder if I can get him to come forward and I could take him out without being seen. But I think I'll still be seen. I'll let him walk a little further away. Oh, I got two of them coming. That's not what I wanted.
We await your signal.
There, in front of us.
I want him to walk towards me without walking into the other guys. But see, that still just gets him to see me. Okay, so there's a bunch of guys over there. He's there. Okay.
Kill them!
There we go. That's all I needed. Hey, what are you shoving me for?
How could anyone call this forest home? It's all mud and...
With a French pushback, there'll be a lot of opportunities for us up north.
Have, sir. You mean, sir? You are great.
Edward. Not so fun on the other end of the barrel, is it?
Look out!
Sir.
Well, there
Where
he
are
goes.
you off to, Edward?
That's not what I wanted you to fire at. Alright, let's restart. We gotta make sure we shoot these wagons. That's our next... This is the objective that I did not care for. Get a fire? Like, I'm pushing the fire button, and he's just sitting there pointing at it. Like, you know, that seems like a really good idea. Okay, is my gun not reload, or is not loaded? Because if that's the case, this is going to be a real pain in the bottom. Like, he is not firing. It shows that it's loaded. See, there we got it. Oh, did you fire at something else? of all things to do. My game is like not cooperating. There we go.
I never took you for a coward, Edward.
Come on, then! Such arrogance. I always knew it would be the end of you. Is the end of you.
Don't. Hurry before he gets away! I said go!
I don't deserve this!
Alright, so we got a thing here for George Washington. Born in 1732, here's a name even you should recognize, George Washington, who will go on to become the leader of the army during the American Revolution and the first president of the United States. I was going to say you probably know everything I'm going to tell you, but that would be a lie. What you know is that George Washington has a lot of things named after him, and anything else you learned at school you forgot because you thought you'd never use it in real life. You should call your history teacher and tell her she was right all along. George Washington was the son of a planter from Virginia. He was raised with little education, but was ambitious, teaching himself mostly from books. Washington started in business early, speculating on land starting at the age of 18. When he was 20, his older brother died, leaving him the heir of the family plantation at Mount Vernon, where he lived until his death, and where you can still visit his grave today. Washington got his military start during the French and Indian War, leading an expedition to Fort Duquesne. In 1754, the destination he never reached, having surrendered at Fort Necessity. The next year, Washington headed for Fort Duquesne again, this time as the guide for Braddock during the ill-fated Braddock expedition. Washington went as a volunteer, hoping that working for Braddock would get him a track to military promotion. Though the battle was a rout, Washington earned credit for organizing the retreat, and later that year he was made a colonel in charge of the Virginia militia. Washington completely revamped the militia with hopes that under his organization and training they would be accepted into the British military. They never were. Washington resigned his post in 1758. I won't say the snub led to his contempt for the British, but snubs rarely help. By late 1760s, Washington had become active in political life, taking on a role in the Virginia House of Burgesses. He went on to become a member of the Continental Congress. When war broke out in 1775, he was Congress's choice to lead the army. At the time, Washington said, "I do not think myself equal to the command I am honored with," which I'm sure inspired complete confidence in everyone who heard it. Imagine if you were on an airplane and the captain opened with that. It's possible Washington was being falsely modest, but the fact is this: he wasn't a military genius, and he knew it, though I'm sure it hurts your American pride to hear me say he wasn't perfect. Washington had several narrow misses where the army could have been easily obliterated. At Manhattan and again at Brandywine, among others. Washington won an early victory. He broke the siege of Boston, but he made a disastrous move fortifying New York, a city he couldn't defend without a navy he didn't have. Even you can work that one out. He spent the latter half of 1776 retreating across New York and New Jersey, losing battle after battle, until Christmas when he pulled off the successful surprise attack on the Hessian troops at Trenton. And while the battle makes for some famous paintings, and it did rally the flagging confidence of the public, it was a minor victory in the war. And I already have read these, I just remarked them. All right, let's take out Braddock.
You're a hypocrite, Hatham! I'm sorry, Edward, but you forced my hand. Why, Hatham?
Your death opens a door. It's nothing personal. Well, maybe it is a little personal. Been a pain in my ass, after all.
But we are brothers in arms.
Once, perhaps. No longer.
Do you think I've forgotten what you did? All those innocents slaughtered, and for what? It does not engender peace to cut your way to resolution.
Wrong. Whether we applied the sword more liberally and more often, the world would be a better place than it is today.
In this instance, I concur.
Mm-hmm.
Farewell, Edward.
Oh, look, he's still moving.
It's done. Now I have upheld my part of the bargain. I expect that you will honor yours.
Follow me.
No. No!
You seem disappointed.
I thought that I held a key that would open something here.
This room is all there is.
I expected more. What do they mean?
It tells the story of Yotzitzizu, who came into our world and shaped it for what life might come. She had a hard journey, fraught with great loss and peril. But she believed in her children and what they might achieve. And though she is long gone from the physical world, her eyes still watch over us. Her ears still hear our words. Her hands still guide us. And her love still gives us strength.
You have shown me great kindness, dear. Thank you. I should go.
All right. So we get an updated thing here on Edward Braddock, which we'll have to read later. A few days later. So let's hop back in here into the Animus database. Recent entries. Edward Braddock updated. Here's the ... It was George Washington who carried Braddock from the field in his sash. Just a second, I'm getting a phone call. All right, sorry about that. I had to run upstairs because for some reason we were cutting in and out service-wise downstairs. So anyways, here, what were we reading about the updated for General Braddock? It was George Washington who carried Braddock from the field on his sash, which Braddock had entrusted to Washington. That carrying bit may sound a bit odd, but that sash is bigger than it looks, more than 3 meters long and doubled as a field hammock. It says something about the officers that they'd wear a piece of clothing designed to carry their body off the battlefield, which would also single them out for getting shot. The ways of war are mysterious. Braddock died of his injuries a few days later. Washington kept the sash. Now, here's something interesting. Because of concerns that enemy soldiers would desecrate Braddock's body, he was buried under the road so that wagons would run over the earth and hide the gravesite. In 1804, road workers rediscovered the remains, and they were moved to another site, which is now marked by a marble monument. I don't want to get the almanac at this time.
Master Kenway, did you find it then?
It was not the right place.
The others are waiting for you.
Gentlemen, please, sit. I fear our temple was no more than a painted cave. Although it did contain precursor images and script, which means we are close.
Not close enough, it seems.
We need to redouble our efforts and expand our order and establish a permanent base here. Although the site eludes us, I am confident we will find it.
Sleuth.
Hear, hear. Furthermore, I believe it is time we welcome Charles into our fold. He has proven himself a loyal disciple and served unerringly since the day he came to us. He should be able to share in our knowledge and reap all the benefits that such a gift implies. Are any opposed? Very well. Charles, come, stand. Do you swear to uphold the principles of our order and all that for which we stand?
I do.
And never to share our secrets nor divulge the true nature of our work?
I do.
And to do so from now until death, whatever the cost?
I do.
Then we welcome you into our fold, brother. Together, we will usher in the dawn of a new world, one defined by purpose and order. Give me your hand. You are a Templar. May the Father of Understanding guide us.
May the Father of Understanding guide us.
What? They're Templars? Lick ass.
What?
Desmond, wait, what? Who saw this coming?
You all saw that, right?
Wow.
Wow, indeed.
The key must be the amulet Hatham took from London.
We might know what it looks like, but we're no closer to finding it. Desmond, you need to keep going.
Hey, he's your ancestor too. Why don't you hop in the Animus?
Really? That's your response? It's like dealing with a 6-year-old. What is wrong with you, Desmond?
You want to know what's wrong? I'm sick of being treated like I'm not even here. Desmond, do this. Desmond, do that. Desmond, you better figure things out because the sun is going to turn us all to ash. And I know I was really nice to you, but actually I'm just another Templar plot twist. And yes, I would like very much for you to be controlled by a magic space wizard so that you can murder me. So there's your answer. I'm sick of being a goddamn pawn. I thought it might be different with you. I mean, you're my father, but turns out you're no better than the fucking Templars.
Schwa.
Don't Don't you ever equate me to those bastards again. You hear me? Everything I do, everything I have done, has been for you. Maybe I pushed a little too hard, asked a little too much. But try and remember exactly what's at stake here. You need to get it together, kid. We're running out of time.
That was unusual. Well, I'm just going to pretend that this never happened and get back to bringing everyone up to speed on where we stand. The news isn't good. It appears this temple is powered by a collection of, well, I guess they're batteries. You found one on your way in, but there aren't any more, at least not down here.
Any idea on where we can find replacements?
Not yet, so I intend to tiptoe into the Abstergo database. Now, if I can cross-reference these particular devices with their database, then maybe we'll get lucky.
See what you can do.
Obviously. Anyway, Desmond, you can either take a look around here, or we can head back to the Animus.
Alright, does anyone have anything new to say? I don't think we already had read those. So here we have from Rebecca. Hey there, Desmond. As you can see from the date of this email, you've been in the Animus a few days now, but don't worry. I've been staying on top of your vitals, not even a blip. It looks like extending the sessions won't be a problem. Whatever happened between you and 16 seems to have increased your tolerance. The Animus keeps you in a resting state, which takes care of fatigue, and your memories are vivid enough that we're actually seeing micro movement in your muscles, which means no atrophy issues either. Still, we're bringing you out for breaks just to stay on the safe side. It does make me wonder, though, like, what does he do for food?
Stop wasting time.
For food and, like, going to the bathroom while he's in the Animus. But, yeah, I guess we're not supposed to think about stuff like that.
Hello, Desmond. How's things?
Same old. Another day, another ancestor.
Who'd have thought you'd have a Templar in your family tree?
I think he started out as an assassin. They must have turned him.
Right you are, in fact. I've been reviewing our archives, and it appears that Haytham's father was indeed an assassin, which means he was likely one too, at least for a little while.
What else did you find?
That fella from the opera, Reginald Birch, Grand Master of the London chapter of Templars.
Stop trying to think
he and
video
Haytham's
games.
father, a man named Edward, well, they were long-time rivals. Now, it appears Birch got his hands on Haytham at a rather young age, worked his wiles to convince Haytham to switch sides. Wonder how he did it. I'll see if I can't dig up more.
Just look at Pokemon where a 10-year-old sets out on their own. That's right.
I'm working right now. All the visual clues are here, which means no time for chit-chat, okay? Sorry.
Alright, so done with Sean. He had a little bit more. He told us to stop wasting our time. And there is, of course, Minerva or somebody standing next to the Animus here. Doesn't look like Rebecca has anything else to say. So let's... I think we'll stop this episode here before we hop back in. And I'm going to take a short break and we'll be back with more Pokemon shortly. So just keep an eye out for that. I'll be back in just a bit.